Nawaz thought that he became PM in 1990 due to his popularity. On the contrary, the establishment believed that Nawaz Sharif became PM due to them, and he would remain submissive to them. Interestingly, IJI's religious leaders were of similar views. Qazi Hussain and Sami ul-Haq believed that Sharif had become the country's chief executive with their help. And this help was not without cost. In return, they wanted Sharif to implement the Islamic system. And this was the biggest challenge for the PM. It was also necessary to reduce the pressure from religious parties. The Sharia bill was already there, but Nawaz Sharif started preparing a new bill with his team. The Sharia bill was presented on May 11, 1991, after 5 months of preparation. The bill created chaos when it was presented in Parliament. Religious scholars, including Sami ul-Haq and Qazi Hussain, did not consider the Sharia bill as a Sharia bill. Fazal or Rehman has even said that the Shariat bill of Sharif was as if Zam-Zam were presented in the bottle of wine. Maulana Sami ul-Haq and Fazlur Rehman were religious scholars, but personalities like Benazir Bhutto and Paghara also rejected the bill. Religious parties started criticizing Nawaz Sharif and started threatening to leave the government. Sami ul-Haq was so annoyed that in November 1991 he threatened to start protests. It was a difficult time for Nawaz Sharif as allies were leaving one after the other. In this situation, 2 things saved him temporarily. One was a wine bottle, and the other was an illegal pistol. A 33-year-old woman named Madame Tahira was arrested with wine and weapons in Islamabad. And an audio tape of this lady has also been released. This scandal got published in newspapers as an exclusive story. These news stories changed the whole scenario. Madame Tahira was a character who used to provide special services to the elite of Islamabad. He revealed that Maulana Sami ul-Haq was her permanent client, and much more. This was great embarrassment for the Sami ul-Haq Senate meeting that was going to be held in a few days. Maulana Sami ul-Haq came. He was very sad and tried to convince his innocence. He denied the allegations of Madame Tahira and declared that all the allegations were fake. He then resigned from the Senate and decided not to conduct any protests against Nawaz Sharif. This story was published in the whole world, including Indian newspapers. However, Madame Tahira denied all the allegations later and said that he had no relations with Sami ul-Haq. But it was too late. The pressure on Sami ul-Haq ended, but another pressure on the Prime Minister was ahead. This pressure also came from the right-wing hub power station of Nawaz Sharif, which was a major project for ending load shedding. The National Treasury did not have enough money to start such a big power plant, so this project was being completed with foreign investment. It was obvious that interest would be involved in this project. Nawaz was excited about this project, thinking it would not only create electricity but also boost the economy. But the federal Sharia court's verdict against interest came, saying that all governmental projects involving interest would be shut down. The verdict means that the hub power plant should be closed, and in the event of not accepting the verdict, religious allies would be lost because Nawaz Sharif's choice was tough. Now, electricity or saving the government was the choice. In this situation, a small bank came to help PM file an appeal against the Sharia court's verdict. The appeal was filed through the Agricultural Development Bank. Now the Supreme Court had to decide whether or not to act on the federal Sharia court's verdict. But hearing of this appeal postponed time and again, and all the matter was lost in the judicial maze. Foreign investment continued, and the hub power project was completed. And today, this project produces electricity near 1,300 megawatts. One more pressure was still there for the government. This was the pressure to stop economic collapse. The situation was that the state banks and the industries were on the brink of destruction, corruption, excessive posts, their heavy salaries, and the strikes of labor unions. These were the problems that forced government institutions to get stuck. Allied Bank was facing a $22 billion deficit, and MCB's condition was such that many countries were closing their operations. Such a situation demanded hard steps. Nawaz Sharif was the right-wing leader, but he was a supporter of the liberal economy. He started privatization to handle economic disasters. I said that all such institutions should move to the private sector. We will pay our debts from this income. We will spend this income on the defense of the country. We will spend it on the social sector, like education and health. Newspapers were publishing huge ads against state industrial institutions going into deficit. These ads explain why it is important to privatize industries. Initially, there was great opposition because this policy was completely opposite to Bhutto's nationalization policy. Therefore, the PPP strongly opposed it. The opposition came to the streets, and labor unions went on strike. But privatization carried on. This was the same policy that was later continued by the PPP and Musharraf governments. Privatization increased the competition, and the same banks which were facing deficits started earning profits. These reforms boosted Pakistan's economy. But a problem arose. The problem was that the Prime Minister was accused of bestowing his favorites. Many of these favorites have money but no experience. This is the reason that, at first, privatization caused immense, matchless economic growth. But in the next year, the growth rate came to the lowest level of the last 20 years. Experts say it was because some deals were based on nepotism, not merit. That's why they did not prove profitable. However, in the long run, the privatization policy proved good for Pakistan. And this policy is still part of all political party manifestos. It is Antarctica, South Pole, where ice ruled for centuries on its extreme edge. There is a 100-kilometer-long mountain range where Jinnah Antarctic Center is established. The center was established under the Ministry of Science and Technology in 1990-91. Pakistan was the world's 37th and first Muslim country conducting research in the South Pole. This research is about major changes under the sea, life hidden beneath ice, and possible ecological changes. This project is still ongoing, and the Pakistan Navy is responsible for the movement of scientists from Pakistan to the South Pole. At the time, this great scientific project was being completed in Antarctica. Meanwhile, Iraqi Scud missiles were moving in the streets of Pakistan. Why was this? How did Nawaz Sharif, who came to power with the help of the establishment, ruin his relations with the army chief? What was the result of Sharif's fight with the army chief? Watch all this in the next episode of Pakistan Story. Subscribe to English Murchi to watch all upcoming episodes. Click the bell icon so that you receive all updates on time.